Yadation Nedoshike, Aheha, Quang Hanso Kai, She Ya, Nivayazin She, Sina Jeninshlo, Twitchine, Bashin, Tohana Dashe, Ado Hatsoi Dashanala, Equit A Sanshla, Ado Amanshla, Ava Chayasha, Shayasha Holo. A Koe Yahai 50 years celebration ko Bandil Day. NHA is now 50 years since May 1, 1963 when it was created. A Koe Yahai no. The reason we're having the celebration really is to culminate an appreciation for all the over 10,000 families that have been assisted through Navajo Housing Authority since 1963. 50 years as Lingo, we want to demarcate the next 50 years as a new era. Chief Executive Officer, Lay Navajo Housing Authority, NHA Board of Commissioners, Window Rock, Arizona, we have 15 field offices under Navajo Housing Authority. You're being assisted. This is a new era for us. I came on 6 years ago. We install major changes into the organization. Needs assessment that was completed in August 2011. From that assessment, we determined there are 34,100 homes needed for our families. That was the number in 2011. Going forward, 2% birth rate of our nation. Now there's going to be more housing needed. 34,300 homes of existing homes, they need major repair. Is needed for the Navajo Nation. We're the largest Indian housing authority in the country. Compare that to public housing, they in the metropolitan areas, cities, we're the 8th largest public housing agency. They don't have the challenges as we do in an Indian reservation with rural and remote land features. We started this needs assessment. At land information management system, technology, databases, we want to be able to plan properly way from the get-go. Technology. Floodplain that has archaeological sites. It makes it not feasible to produce housing in those land areas. Proper planning analyze it we can start planning housing development. 34,000 so we started this next initiative, Community Master Planning Initiative. Working with consulting firm, Swaback Partners, that we are able to now have every community, all 110 communities, master plan. At the chapter levels, with planning. Master plan how you build housing, how you build community facilities, businesses to create jobs for our Navajo families. But with respect to funds leveraging master plan but we need to know how many veterans, how many seniors, how many homes are overcrowded, how many are single parent homes, how many have no plumbing. We're going to really identify that for every community, and we're going to target resources that can help leverage these dollars. Washington, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, HUD, Veterans Affairs, leverage by match that they linked by community that they know, but We're going to go witness it and see it. We'll be visiting your community and talking with you how best to make these master plans come to fruition. Land Navajo Nation land withdrawal in here. NHA is no more land to withdraw. Will be coming to your communities, land identified and for your own community members, for yourself, your children, your grandchildren. 50 years from now, we want to be looking at planning out the entire Navajo Nation for housing. Abigansen to have a home for every Navajo family. Navajo Housing Authority used to just have 2 programs, public rental, mutual help home ownership. The homes are needed for all the even working families, the professionals that are coming back to the Navajo reservation, higher education, they're coming back and want to provide a home for them. Though our doctors, our nurses, our firefighters, our policemen, essential personnel that we need on the reservation. We expanded our home ownership program policy. NHA now can provide a home for all families despite income. There's a way that we can do that and still be compliant with the law. We instituted that. Board of Commissioners, NHA management to make these new program policies and new avenues available for home ownership. Together go
Yat el tahasilo at the house out I not say. Kodoe Yai Edward T. Begay Hani Leto Lake. Navajo Housing Authority, Board of Commissioners, Yanan Dagi and Hitne. Ashlanil Board of Commissioners, no, it Antinipi. They built it on that side of a big cat. I couldn't quay a bad hit the house no teacher. As she grew up, had also need an instead of it. Edward T. Begay, again, she had your dini. I don't what it's in it, and and I don't okay, that's it. I don't get that, and it says I chin that she che. So not chin that she nalle. So there is the church. Aji Tanasha. I couldn't Housing Authority, Board of Commissioners, Aji Tashanan Snati. I could May 1, 2013. Yai Ashlatin Nakai. Yet da Yai Nikin Nature Yai a whole Navajo Housing Authority. What Yai Yetchi. It da she not Sanake so Yai Washington because she belash like Klatoik it is Hogan. Yat Egi Yidat Edo Ilo. She Besuyan Nadichi. Public Housing Administration cut Yai Bizio she get lot. John Dow Yai Pigit but since Tizito. Satota at Tato what don't need. What has Anu Kais so. Eben nach Yai Ita to be how Jisheta Tadnes not din. Yahogan don't nit Dato nit. No peso Babich Acha. Ako Abet said Yai Mikahol Yagishi Ben dat on Nishokot Ako Eben nach Yai not Ani Ita Sosatino at say Pete Hunten P. Aro stel te shi sebetino se bitnas eto tanten piki jo yai at yai khadoi kedates personante hot da yosana holji akotide 1963 eta joita holji sneko akonde a kid in the urban housing development but in Washington ki yai 1968 in the hajo pata hachil Akon he koro council because aro ade yahayata hot eben na jake can nit all adalia. Akon de do ahoshi laita obe kinu ha nini obe hahol jij hala dot aro nene bashte hotet open nashi ke bini teo na nishtelia. Akon den re na setsa tarotsos tini khada joita e yai asho hon nas gotsa ako ben nache peso na nelseli e kondet behas ani e yai 1937 housing itno behas ani so eben nakagone e peso nante holia ako ita eto kut o dat o silka no dat a sai da hetat en halo kut o e yai ben haho Kot aro stat yago pata elini no. Kot o e kahol jij. Akonde e shi stat nos itle yago kaje e at epe kahol jij ta pakana sos. Ako kot aro inde na hote shi na se sa taro na sa tino hasai khata e yai Native American Housing and Self-Determination Act. Kot o e yai behas anich enanna. Akot o alazdanet tehid e nahaza kot o e gochi Congress e lata asli in the rasho at this is nini it o e yai beta inistole peso no aro in the tabnachito na nish hatabi ligeri to petas to no kot o e yai aje si hogan but it niti be kaya bakaid Johoto need. Aro in the Dakoto Alesi Hanot Otanas Jaolia, but I see but that need nada Jotadini, it not aunt. Even as a Batsana, this case where and Labelson has aunt, Sitiat it neta need ake roll, isn't it? Even on the strand. Joe Conde, which in a hunt asli a teen. To jobichi da is tinda kona tlozi to be yata hoye pesapa taile tona tlozi to da kona nat ebeni na go to yashko da sli kweke as chinu nante sli eben nai da nas jao as go ya ashon an hal to go to da ya go ba dai le ho that is nish eshi ya ko to ba kono sandoli Chicano Sini da Hoisada no Sai. Arashi no Sanshi, a sto Satocha da so, Inocha da nos. Ako ebic ahoe yakodo, ba hequin zen joile, to what they need zen. Akot o eta in the sheep coroni, ben Bada Hoil Nedobin Yeta, a Saho Zakona Hochen Sanat de Dai Net Kodo. Eshen let hard as Kenshi, Ekot oe, Tahan nedo in the Tata and Ino lit, Kot Akok at Beninag Beninadiki, Yapan Sakis, Ke Anit Itiki, Edaisi, Lasi Lee, Aro Hohan, a to yat egi, Tanen Hatchen, Aro Netana Nishtane, Ebenina Sande Kindat. Kinas jao ko da hazna are gantar nisota pagan akonde ani kaya bekai ndish neta niri o khayu aro ta ostka nda iltao akorai sicho ilta des I yat eo shagando jota ne kote ako ebeni na ko ekat bidet ayago pahilla no hogani nse yahai asto sahot isgo sahonna ta dia Sadly, Khala at Navajo Tragi ben Nachico, Yatra Nazati Milia Zopa, Koni Itlako, Hoganie be Kede ni Lehot Ela, a condet at skit or nitty at the north side of it at the hodlo, yai, Kaya, Pahatot, so Nini Edaisi, Dodaisi Yata, Naketa Hatini. Besta landi konde to kishi pahnaiti kit hodlo ako deep in nachagoe Best chi do thotat e do best behanida e do teen. Yai Bayat eta liagi ekto bata hankhani jo ya pato ya la na Quinson. A quantity ani tsko de ya pe pani cloud e do ni Housing Authority to right yata. Quishi to da in ni step has ade kote be hodol doge na so so be sa ado li be na chla hado nitiki ya nikitna has ago ko hajon tadok as keta ho saye koto ya aje banda huil neto ya sustainable master community plans yitne dishe ya batat ejnish beho ai benache akot otskito na halo nikitashne hajo ko na ya shi kitna ta huil neto lit nanat ko he
Raven Nakai so and then he's one of our leaders that also Navajo Housing Authority I'll be with the Navajo Housing Authority for 15 years this coming to 4th May. So I celebrate NXJ's birthday too, along with my anniversary date with NXJ. Citizen Lenny de Yahanadisi, Ado de Yahashita, Jonah, Eko, Niyagi de Yahaka de Yahanada Honey Tlonha, NHA, my birthday, no, Shadian, a year de Yahako, Shlati, Nahaida, Yahakwa de Yahabayo, Jano de Yanhabata, Lono, with Lake, Shadian Lenikum, Udaya de Yahakon citizen, Lenny de Yahakon Benja, the Shadian Leni, NHA employees don't obey the Shnikum, Shadian Lenikum, but Hayata Hotel, they could on it, the gentleman, the Shanade, the Edo, but Jay was the Hajon, and the case with the Hajon. I saw the Yandakon, I saw the little corn by instant, or the Shadian Leni, without citizen, Lenny Benja, the Shadian Leni. I ask you all these favor in your Holy Son's precious name, my Lord, my Savior, Jesus Christ, amen.
Thank you very much for your reverence. You may be seated. And allow me to introduce you, President Shelley, First Lady of the Navajo Nation, and then also Michelle with the Office of the President. So would you please give them a round of applause? Also, we have in attendance, we have our Board of Commissioners. Chairman Edward T. Begay is here with us, as well as Commissioner Tooley, and then also our Chief Executive Officer of the Navajo Nation is also here present on the stage with us. Would you please give them a round of applause? And also providing our security for our safety is Sheriff Dedman of Apache County. Sheriff Dedman is here with us as well. So with this, we would like to go ahead and get started. Our first speaker will be Aniva J. Yazzie, who will be giving our welcome address. So please give a listen to Aniva J. Yazzie.
President Shelley and your wife, and then Shajal, Board of Commissioners Chair, and all the commissioner members are here with us today. Thank you for joining us and helping us celebrate 50 years of Navajo Housing Authority being in existence. It was created back in May 1, 1963. Ado aman shla shcha ya jaholo do shamato shija ya Harry Maria se wulya maslaten da hikan ko aden ne kai ako shanandishe ya largest at Navajo Housing Authority de February 2007 began as the Chief Executive Officer. Ako shanandish hayunde ita ako adeya we want to celebrate some of the challenges that we've overcome as NHA, but to celebrate even the age of NHA, we also want to appreciate, this is a day of appreciation for all of those folks that have worked with NHA and provided the services since 1963 to present day, and then to all those families that were assisted by NHA. And we continue to provide that assistance to a little over 10,000 families. Today is a historic event. This marks the beginning of a new era for Navajo Housing Authority. When I came on, we did a needs assessment study, and that showed a minimum housing need for our people of 34,100 homes. Although that study also showed a need of 34,300 of existing homes that needed major repair. Akunda, we have a population of about 304,000, and that population is going to continue to grow at a birth rate of about 2%. And so our challenge is great because those numbers right now identify $9 billion of housing need. Although there's a pocket of area, former Bennett Freeze, on the western side of our reservation, that has been frozen land, no development, Congress, 40 years has Lee. So it's come unfrozen under the administration of President Obama to unfreeze that, and was sponsored by Congresswoman Ann Kirkpatrick. But now, that's an additional $4 billion housing need. All together, right now we're looking at funding of $13 billion. So our challenges are great. Akonde, when we did that study, the next thing we needed to do is you can't build home if you don't have a land site. The land status of all the reservation became very critical. You had different people, different departments of Navajo, DO, NHA, NTUA, DO, BIA, Bureau of Land Management. How could we identify one common database to identify the land? NHA invested in a land information management system. We put all the display of what we've done since 2007. So getting back to the fundamentals of proper planning. At the community, we want to listen to the community members. No more subdivision that they know. It causes friction, not knowing who your neighbor is. We want to be able to bring back our cultural heritage as to how we plan and design these homes. It's on that we listen, doing these housing summits in 07 and 08. We completed this needs study. You can download it from our website. So, how do we tie the land to the housing need? Decisions we started a sustainable community master plan. So every community, 110 communities across the reservation, chapters, the people that came to these meetings, your chapter officials, some council delegates that participated, we were able to create a master plan. Master plan that will help talk about infrastructure, utility infrastructure, because we need to cost share that. that infrastructure just can't serve housing. It needs to also serve community facilities, also job businesses. One of the other initiatives the NHA is doing is to help create business along the way of growing our communities. We can't build a home without considering creating a job for that family. Although if you have a job, you need a home. They go hand in glove. Navajo Housing Authority, Board of Commissioners, policy, direction, it's ando nashnish, Henson. And we want to be able to provide home shot in Native American Housing Assistance and Self-Determination Act, you can qualify or don't qualify. The 34,000 it's not just all low income. There's other non-low income, our working families, our professionals that come back, want to come back from college once they get their education, take their learning to experience here and help the nation grow. They know the March 28, 2013, NHA Board of Commissioners approved the first ever expanded home ownership program. What this will do is open up home ownership for every Navajo family, because that's the ultimate goal of what we're wanting to do. We're going to now work with private sector financing, economic development, helping our own families get jobs. NHA is looking at creating a construction company, really bringing back our trade skill workforce that are just lived off the reservation because there was no job available here. Why can't we build our own homes and our own facilities on the reservation? That's the next focus that we want to be looking at, but that takes skilled workforce, construction trade, and it's a noble trade. We want to partner with the colleges so that we can look at the construction technology and really hone in those skills. We have young adults that don't have jobs right now. Why not have an apprenticeship program to really start honing those skills for what we need to do to build homes, to build community facilities, and to create jobs for our families. Today we have, I really ask you to go through this whole loop. We really will show the progress that this administration, when I came on with the oversight of the NHA Board of Commissioners, has done for you. When I came into NHA, I thought it was really dysfunctional. It was really riddled with program violations. And today, last year, the latest year that the government has done a review, no findings. So we have capacity, but we need to reach out with the Navajo Nation departments to work with them. Those groups that can provide construction experience. So we want to work together. Let's do this working together. I'll be out in your community as soon as I stop my traveling with Washington, D.C. budget sequestration, they're cutting funding. We want to also reach out to all the private sector. Thank you, and let's celebrate the day. Thank you.
who is the Chief Executive Officer with Navajo Housing Authority. Would like to have you also acknowledge Mr. Elton Shepard, who is the council delegate, who is also here with us. And for the other commissioners that are not here with us is Commissioner Wilson Ray, Shaunavon Dale, as well as Commissioner Blackhorse, who make up the Board of Commissioners for Navajo Housing Authority. So would you please welcome Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Mr. Edward T. Begay. He will be our next presenter.
Board of Commissioners, Navajo Housing Authority. Celebration United States Congress. Sandelo, Atado, Sheet Behado, Hot Ela, nahata tahapi ohan kedesti naoti yendar nishodil no arasida aro bekeche evaji kamini sandas nilice bizata anden biu ja kota ischa dan steht rotadini yenad has ala ako do dan no bili chairman no president even nache anakagone ja ade di onishni anigi bagotle beche desti ako daisien Saben Anish, Hogan has Agen, Hitler has Agen, the Habako in Zedana Yago, Abada, Gedada, or Leda Bada, Artishiri, Dodawan, Twada, Sleed, Dodo, Cheda, Sleed, Judo, Ini, that is click home, which is answered, Ako Edo, Bada, then. Ela liga ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਦਾ ਇਸ ਥੀਮ ਇਹਦਾ ਅਦਾ ਦਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਹੋਣੀ ਚੱਟੀ ਸ਼ਿਹਾਇ ਅਕੋ ਹੋਗਨ ਮਜ਼ੇ ਬਿਜਨੋ ਦਿਨਿਆ ਦਾ ਹਸਲੀ ਦੋਨੀ ਚਰਪੀਸ਼ੀ ਅਕੋ ਇਹਦਾ ਦੁਖਦ ਵੀ ਨਾਸਾਨੀਆ ਅਸਾਕ ਆਹ ਇਹਦਾ ਹੀ ਵਸ਼ੇ ਜੁਨੋ ਨੇ ਖੰਦਾ ਅੱਲਾ ਅਕਦੋ ਇਹ ਕਿਹਦਾ ਵੀ ਤੋਂ ਦਿਆ ਦਾ ਹੋਆ Atsiz bahayade ya anila di patho kyalo tini don hayat eta na tini dona ni ho hanu keda no ton tano chado tavso ako to khosa ni dan kita del dalla bedella ata keda dosna sanitation it's no use. You went on the tape. Hala person is ante asena new. Chuda nila. Every kashi. Ekoron. The having on yagi. Edi kei. The nation and die. Akodo hayu. Neda ne. Dosh kuchon le heta. Shigwek to ishtaronde. Commission Pininani Dadasa. Oh, I am a chain there. I am done. Never quantity. Oh, potato. Esina Deda, Zebra, Aya Stadalia. Do I job sauce manota. Chocolate, by it, Tinam and the sheets. Akodi, Esbasa, Ane, Bears Anita Yita, Essel sauce. I'm Zuri, Canada Hall, Okano, it's a zone there, that's what's a daisy, and that's the Petrotka. I get a hot dada. Navajo Housing Act. No. A person not the tiny Yetas Amashindo, even Nakano, Owanda, Nilo, Baby Destino, Aya Tanechi. What a gorgeous. Akonde, Josh, a coast and a husband done this. Akosto. Yesterday's case, a weapon that others are young day. I don't know there's an inside and another. Kingdom is it, and it is the came, the house that no, Native American Housing and Self-Determination Act, but yeah, clapping the house so. Anna sheep, I need another no. Not any Washington, another day. Ako but I was the person on the Ako nature. And now take it very whole one need away. It's at all. She's artist. Oh, and not any head Nazi, the joke. Silo body later, but not that evening. Silo and Shando that evening. I could have so bad a husband, but I did Ado, it's at our, but I be as honest and it. But Ado, which in on Tragedy, Persichido, close to Shini, Todo, close to Shini, Perspe and Nido, Aro Teen, but I bend with it and then Aquande Housing Authority, that side in that Nishay, do born and Zada. Beninari, Sate Benata, Inish, the Navajo Washington, the Pesota in it. Here, a Bureau of Indian Affairs of Pesota in it. Hey, here that evening, so. And Nachin told Nishiki, Anan, Sostin Jane, Kadedoyo, Taho Zani Lewe, Ashabini, Sid, Sustainable Community Development. It's no Yoshimilagana. Ekao, the Kendi Hadanita Datleo, Ado Nidan Hado Nik, Tobe Baked Lado, Tanoshi Dane, Edo Matodo, Bajo Dish, Akodi Kodo, Legend. بتشدعين الآن دي العشلة دي ناخن هنا نشتغلوا نارو الناس جشا قد ناتاني نهاتاني داديني وكاجا سيخلا نهاتن قرين ليني نات عشين زاهو تنو بكادا دي الليل هو الناس يتنلو الليل أكوان دي بجيناو تي آخري بجوه دارو هنن شدا ناش دشتن جنو شغانو الليل نني والله آشنا هدشتن نني والله ايدو بعدا تيدو الليل بيسو أكيدا دي نتلو فاينانسي الليل آني تسايد البيت حسن شده قطعي الليل نايد الزينو كان دايل يا آئك أهو غنيل دو كدوتو بيداين نانو بيداهو لكدو خدو بيداين خدو لك آني التخو لايجل يدو جيناو تينا تاكدي يودو لك الجودات بنينات يكدي لارو لك ناموني لني شدين خلا نانسن دوما كاتسو تسن ايشي دي بدولي عربين يسن دايدتا عربا يدا تياتو بخاني نو حاش حاشا عرو الجندل سنة ياتي والناس او من ياتي بيجدودني تيدولي بيجدوين حتاقا إلا نانتين إلا شادتو نين هاي أنت ديل أني نين ديل آرو نوبا يديل كي هنو يكرو بكادا ويليا إيشي بناتي تنينو تيلي بناتي أشتو كسنامي غاني تاوناتي وغني دي نيلو تدي نوه بكادا ويليا أكوان نتاسا ويدو نيلا آجيجن دان تيني لا تيسي خان توسدوني كاين جيروني كانانجا يبشي سواب باغانو كون دايدل كيلو داتكا شي بالناس نشلولك كنت هي باتساكس أروني بس بناندي أساج واشنطن دانيل أوه أيون أتان كدسلا أكون كبيدا إتتانو إدا كيلو نحني جونا ليه ثاني صابت الجا أكون يصاب تيلو نخادت أنين جنو جديد الإيل أخذ الزول سيل واشنطن أجلني حالنا بقول من كدنني بايد التلو بانداكي خانون داكي لانو أكل كانت جو هو نتيجة آج داندي خان بتوعي جياد التلو لكدو نين دون زاكيس ابني ناشنان داي دي كورونا بتاش أجدادو باشتي دي كدو الكيسن مليوني بوكلي دي من هي بكده دوخل داس سبو يا يركينا كويا كنيلة دي غيبي أزاني ينجي يركينا دانو سنولي دوداني سنولي دي شراكايلا تراكي دوخل هادي باداني هدونو دي بوخدي آر ودي الكان نالصوص بكاشني دوباز السناندي ناس صوي بكاو يدار تجدي ينالو الباطوسي لي فتوتو أنا المشكلة أكو نارتو أشياء تولي فتوي لي جهازينو كنت سوي يجونا آرو أشياء
آرو ندكودوتي أكيد تهويل نعودي كجب النهار جسوينا تاني كقدر بدين نيتله آرو ندك نحن تلينو كوي ينخخو آسن لكو يا President Shelley Shekwado Nikija Hatsi Lino Let the county commissioner with this under the council delegate. Vice President Lee under the county president Loy Nakana that's in Lin under the hand so she Nakana ran leko under the night and against the Kunigi old town Han Aj Jaido Kumba Hida cut Yanatani Lenigi President Shelley.
Agoshia Shanandai Kono Toshi Beats Danan on a Yadil Tikono Ayadayatashito Ashanadin Sana Lenade Hachihan Dazana Asia Dohul Ako Kono Chadet Anigido Ani Good Aro said Raji Yat the Michigan of Liviga An Chamado Shamado Shishia Shechino Shumasanje Wishi Yaja Shinand I Talach Soin of Shinigi Aro Talach Soin of Hada Yanigi Navajo Police Hashime Wadai Besan Lajadole Nishe Yatohe Lini Shlido Ahis Indina Wajamigo Egg the Shishia It's very hard to fill in these shoes. I'm trying. Ako Ecuador and TVD artist. County Commissioner Lila Gobako Nizi Nanishmek in the Taibi what was happened. And not just Castada. And then the Navajo should have put out a living on the state. I would answer. I had never hashed. I could all hotels at the Bayat Sita. A Twino Sani. Not Ani that Leo Koha Shinzare Kun Hatahweta. Honorable with Yagi, respect with Yagi. Maybe Jayan Kyoyat is at the hotel Bayanana Tisa. Anyway, Goyat, Ecuador, Norkin, and Taiba, Batis, they go. Kona Eya, Bakono
Commissioner, but then the hardest shit now, just because I'm not I can't urgent the short initiation and I don't know director that Lenny the Combinat the Shita and larger CT that Lenny Chief Executive Officer but it no and Nima Yazi, am I saying it right? Edo Ko Sani General Kon Haji Ajiko Akotabina Ado Hashim Soko and Nashit. National Indonesia ko kun zaha ko kan ichiyat khini ni hadzi adini not argue bena Indonesia be has on in dekas at khelo ko dole gut au yat khini ne ko do hadzi khatao hot apo ako Washington be peso ha aya peso na kharo ya dik kanat guide Ecuador can TV gay sato ekhat an khanat dehani asa yahun ya no ye khatzi ako ba ko nasen kada kutta ako beni na ko ajor ka ne jahayat ishnat besh ba san khite ne ade ne piketno Navajo Housing Authority ajo ko yat ilban ilte oil adeshin nadawt adan khisto ako ekodo anaj dole employees and lenigro are kushin heda sanate khatti nadi anacha aninda khayada shina shidol nishkade bahata sot khita retired ta anini nana khajko anini nana khayin harchin kunta istha homanat ino nat kha ishi eta hosam kablak inazda kunkate nishkone ka aga hatshi agota deve ya bachte nanisa ani gota esto kodo shat hidini dole are dashosnishki tribal employees and so housing employment and so are Navajo culture teaching that the hadigo one ahat das skoidan yartile one oliedo jo ego kode yen khaz out khodan khito koneshki stra beyidona chitlat o hayush ki kisan akina zago ebe o josh agit ako ek bayat khito ba konanis si sata hota as choida sanida na thati ta English to ko when it auto by here sendo ko konda agent de sendat so the sendat ben na shada khata at se ko ba ko ne zi aro chiya cheda aro de ben na sho when it auto ben na she kha yi ko be yedo at is khanali be yedo action na kinji ish be yedo ya khat de zendit na change ta ko ta khad din na na das kai azado khayu ko hagan ayot dit kwag hat states trashina hatte ba ko na sen ako kwag agota wani auto ben na she Lord Sharaton Jarat Haina ya Bahawan Haina Chinebetro yat Khataz ako Hanege Yita what the Queen and the Slati the oh you did the cat open nature Dalia Bahawan Hain Sajako Chayan Chinebetro Ultra Agotanat Egit one day Tatawata Kodot or Naste Housing Service Tani the Chinigi Arjone Archokeo not any benefit hit at Nijako Aden Hawin Tekea Dali Adi Akea Hashita Test Kale Ako Kujashan Dajat Michigan Natural Resource Argent Kea Pata Hojan Zenibit Dajat Michigan Hadan Haguna how so but not the Queen Shtati Nezati how one day done that housing service correct community got out. Not egin era ko one sapni ho one day economic development na nishkan cha ebita that housing growth infrastructure the hadniko agada ag power line the nashi stoke beshi chi kota na ajiko ho one it aho ben nashi stoke do it ego na nisho do it ego illegal the Navajo Housing Authority but that nige hard what that Honkaba Sabango, and Nachaeb, Nachanisho, Alet Art, Kodoch, Nina, Kona, Omansa Ambi, Yedoyatio, Nat Abba, Bayatio, Doshi, the Lord Ensign. Foster home, they say better school, Dakota, Nahachin, adult Hadat, Abi, Yedo. Housing creates more business, Nana Jacob. Adeda had either age, Kota, Nahaya, the plumbers, but they know electrician, electrician, but they know good out. And this get a house on that they add a good hours as kitchen as carnage, on this housing expand access to better health care. A good hour, what Jono be a stop in the shot east by yard air has a good hour. A good hour, echo, a yard, or Chidish art. Ayo had nasi in a quagga. Akodi quadia, hit a dead, Katega na she not slota, and Jonago out, hit a dead, Jogata, ya, Dina, Michigan, called Neshikin or Sini Bagon said, Ako, we had to be smart about housing development. Hajob on Saki, San Chunga, wet. You land the one you need to art. A joke is now on the store, he does it. A joke to Yatio, not only but not the Shojoko, not only the Rossini, a joke. I don't know, and of course, that of course. I don't know, the Yatio, the way. Hanat Nail Hazo, than he is the Shida with Educo. Ebakon is the Yate, your fundamental law is here. Remember that hard she is Squido Sani, they now, Yeda Hotado, Yeda Kunzaha, Kadi Kunzaha, his gorgeous. Ebe, Lazi, Zino, Natani, Nini, Nini, Hashanat, Sad, Achadel, Oyat, Ahotani, Jades, the Toto Yegun, Skago, yeah, Koshanet, Anigi, no Kodoni, Jahasigi. Adol Ashi Hai, the Horn Jishokana Tani, the General Board of Commissioner, Kurbada Ninchli, no Executive Officer, no Kodo, Hashin Sogut Chinat, Atlahuno, Hanan, no, the Nebuchadnezzar, the Shato, Arabanakan, and Ani cannot guide the Yadak Tioisan Sao, Arabanat, he Snito, with Agusha, any Huno, Ako, Hiji, Nesodat. Jonagona hata haida, when he the Shikato, Yadi Kato, Hashinda Bayathe, Jogot Edado, no Bahin and Hata, Hiji Kato, Dogot Elsa, Dogot Ed, Yatel, Doyate, Arot Ed, Bayatio, the Kisdajan Nisho, Ado Kukepe, Ekot I, Nade Kato, they go the Schne, Aro Hea. Call his Gunostone, the Nashike, Agotai, Kononi Jahas, Sido, the Yegun Tau, she, Yakudo, now English Shido, I could has Sido, the English Velagana. NXA has taken a new step into a new direction. They have learned from the past experience that housing on the Navajo Nation must forge a new path to create sustainable community. I support their mission and the direction they are taking. It is a smart, wise approach that we need to embrace. Aisha Bezeda teach it and move forward on it on behalf of our kids, the grandkids. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Shelley. for the labor that you put into traveling on behalf of the Navajo Nation. That should be recognized with you and the First Lady as well for the time that you put on behalf of the larger Navajo Nation family. President Shelley.
Yate Che Earl Tuli, I am the Chief Operations Officer for Navajo Housing Authority. This is the 50th anniversary of Navajo Housing Authority. I'd like to give you a tour of the information that is put on the wall here. In this first picture reflects the housing conditions that were pretty prevalent during the 1960s and the 1950s. During that particular time, there was a lot of tuberculosis, TB, and what had happened is that the tribal council approached the government, letting them know that we need to upgrade our homes with having indoor facilities, potable water, electricity. And so they seen the living conditions that we were under. At that particular time, Annie Wanika placed her fame on getting information out on tuberculosis and TB. And so that's how it started. So this is one of the first homes that we had seen back in the 60s and the late 50s. So as we go down through the pictures, you'll notice that a lot of the photographs that we do have are homes that existed in that particular time. But as we go around the corner, what will happen is that we have information on Navajo Housing Authority at the very first onset of it. But what I would like to share with you is this one here. Navajo Housing Authority was recognized as a housing authority, and then also what had happened is that the Navajo Housing Reserves, 1963 is when Navajo Housing Authority was established, but even at that time it was May 31st when it first became news. The other aspect that I'd like to share with you is that not everybody supported this new initiative of having new houses. In this particular document, Raymond Nakai was advocating for houses. 47 council delegates said yes, with 10 saying no and 9 abstaining. And the interesting fact about that is that we were going to get Navajos out of the hogans, something that had been placed with them for years, and now we were going to transition into bringing water, electricity, and then also discharging sewer. And so this is really, really interesting in regards to that. So not everybody supported them at the very onset. In this particular document here, at the time, Mr. Damon was the vice chairman, and basically this is authorizing to receive housing, and then also from the public housing law. And the interesting thing about that is in 1937, which is the Housing Act that was passed by Congress, it did not reach Navajo housing till 1963. So Bilaganas were way ahead of us. And so this is really, really interesting that our delegates and then also our chairman at the time was able to advocate and establish Navajo Housing Authority. So this is the particular document that was done by that. And then also we have another one here, which is establishing Navajo Housing Authority. This is the document that was approved in April 1963. On the 30th of April is when the Tribal Council recognized it. A day after, the federal government stamped their approval of setting up Navajo Housing Authority. On this other wall that we have here, this is a time frame that gives us an idea in regards to legislation, in regards to setting up the Board of Commissioners. So from 1963 to 1972, families were able to support one another through the sweat equity program. And what that means is that the families actually participated, digging footing, also unloading and loading building material. that was their equity. That was their investment into their home. And so that's something that is important up to 1973. 1976, during the bicentennial of the United States, that is when the Board of Commissioners to receive loans. And this is also important because in 1978, they also did, we were able to withdraw our own funds. And so it took a long time to establish this, but Navajo now, they are able to set up their own housing programs. And what is really interesting is that up from that point to the 80s and then up into the 90s, there were transitioning happening. The transitioning that was happening was in 1994 when new congressional members came in. They initiated the change of the Housing Authority program as we know it under the 1937 Housing Act. In 1998, that was when the NAHASDA was established. NAHASDA represents it represents Native American Housing Assistance and Self-Determination Act. So what happened there is that we were able to be designated in 1997 as a tribal housing entity. And what that means is that all the services, Housing Authority used to have many different programs that would be going up to Washington, D.C. asking for housing assistance. It could be the families who have disability, those that advocate on their behalf. We had veterans who were advocating on their behalf. We had bathroom additions, senior homes. And what Congress did is that they put together all those assistants and put them under the tribal designated housing entity. And what happened with that is that only one tribal entity would receive all that money on behalf of the Navajo Nation. And since 1997, it has been Navajo Housing Authority. So what does that mean? It means that there are 523 tribes across the Navajo Nation. Congress allocates $600 million. Of that, Navajo receives the largest portion because of the population of Navajo and also the land base. Up to about $90 million per allocation has been received by Navajo Housing Authority. And since the enactment of NAHASDA, Housing Authority has received on behalf of the Navajo Nation $1 billion. And so that continues to take place. Some of the other areas that I think is really important to also note is that Navajo Housing Authority does not receive the money all in one lump sum. What happens is that Navajo Housing Authority receives funding earmarked for housing, and what that means is that when we turn in receipts, we get reimbursed for the expenditures that we do have. So that's what this particular document is for. So basically, we ask for a application process, and then from there, once that is set, all the housing proposals that is submitted will now be reviewed by a review team from the Office of the President, Office of the Speaker, the Navajo Tribe, and Navajo Housing Authority, and they will go through the application process and then screen and identify. Once that has been done, the selection is made, and the selection goes to the Board of Commissioners who give their stamp of approval. Then it goes to compiling the Indian Housing Plan. When we end up doing that, after it is approved by the Board of Commissioners, then it is sent over to the Navajo Tribal Council. They act on it, and then the President signs off on it. And that's how the funding does come forth. July 15th is the most important date because that's when the Indian Housing Plan will be put in place, and HUD has to receive it on that day in order for Navajo to be considered to receive funding. Some of the barriers that we do have, a lot of impact is had with the land base. And the land base is considered one of the most crucial issues in that the chapters will have to approve the process. Once the chapters identify some property, then it can go into the next phase of submitting a proposal. Some of the other issues that we do have in regards to land and how we're resolving that is with the community land use plans, where the chapters will come together and they will designate how they would like to utilize their particular property. It could be for school, it could be for courts, it could be for housing, it could be for a number of activities, so long as the chapter approves it. The SAS process, this document does go through that process. However, the council will act on it the most. So there's a lot of communication and a lot of communication efforts that are here. One area that I want to share with you is that the land use plan, those individual participants will now say for their community, we would like to have schools, we would like to have business. Also, we would like to upgrade our roadways for infrastructure, as well as given the opportunity for hospitals and nursing facilities, and then also creating jobs for contractors, as well as police and other service providers. And so that's what the housing does provide. Okay, one of the areas that we're going to be looking at here is the process of developing property. And one of the most interesting aspects of this is this. In this particular area, this is down in Kayenta. This particular map shows you the possibility, should there be a big flood, should there be heavy rainstorm or snow runoffs, this particular map will show you where the areas are going to be impacted with floodwaters. So in Kayenta, the Holiday Inn, and then some of the infrastructures that is in place there will be impacted by floodwaters, and that is just the way the land is set up. And then also in this particular area, you can tell where all the water is going to be running off. This is on on Highway 163, and you can tell where that water is going to be coming down and impacting, and that's where we use our land surveying, and then also our GPS readings. And so that's something that's really, really important. We've mapped out the entire Navajo Nation, and that is what this award is for. This particular award is for doing maps. So we've mapped out the entire Navajo Nation. We know where the infrastructure is, we know where the highways are, and then we know where the floodplain areas are. So that is Navajo Housing Authority. Thank you very much. And then also for another 50 years. Bye.